So these are the 5 books that I picked out of the jar last month. That is incorrect. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy. My Believe-a-thon TBR. November, I will be participating in a Believe-a-thon, which is a middle grade readathon that Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin has created this time around. We are on round 3, so I will leave an announcement video down below to this specific round if you would like to check it out. It has all the information, all the paperwork you need, all of the documents, all of that fun stuff he has in that video. Also, that video was like incredibly amazing to watch, and there are lots of special guests, so like you should go watch that. But we're going to be doing the normal TBR basket as well, and hope, fingers crossed, that she's nice to me this month and lets me choose things that'll work with my already basically solidified Believe-a-thon TBR. I will also do my TBR jars, but those will be at the end of the video instead of at the beginning of the video because there are no middle grades in that, and I'm going to try to focus on making my TBR middle grade, specifically for Believe-a-thon, because this round has 13 prompts. I'm going to be reading like 15 books this month. It's fine. But let's look at last month and see how I did. These are the 5 books that I picked out of the basket last month. We have The Grim Grotto by Lemony Snicket, which was for Buddy Read. We have Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Barron, which was for a most anticipated read. We have The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, which was for a TBR bet. We had Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna Maguire, which was to read a book with an embossed cover. And then we have The Boundless by Anna Bright, which was to read a book that is blurred by someone that you loved. So I've read all except for Cinderella is Dead, but I'm about halfway through Cinderella is Dead, and there's still about a month, or about a week left in the month, so I'm gonna say no punishment pick, but I will be vlogging Believe-a-thon, so I'll mention that in my first vlog if I did actually have to do a punishment pick or not. But that is how I did last month, so no punishment pick this time, and let's just get into the first pick. The first pick is this one. Oh, dropped it. Book out of your comfort zone. So the very first pick was to read a book out of your comfort zone, and there's a lot of things that this could work for, but I specifically picked from books that were on my Believe-a-thon TBR, and so for this one I'm going to go with The House with the Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. I just can't with the pretty cover, but this is basically kind of a middle grade retelling on Russian folklore, but also has to do with the story of Baba Yaga. And I haven't read much Russian folklore or things based on Russian folklore. I also don't really know about Baba Yaga at all. So I'm going to say this is out of my comfort zone just because there's a lot of factors going into this that I've never read about and I'm not entirely sure about. But I am still excited to get into the story, but it's pretty out of my comfort zone. So that's the one I'm going to choose for that. The second one is, let's see, this one. See, author of a random letter. So the next one is author random letter, and that basically means I'm going to pull up a random letter generator here on my husband's phone, and whatever the letter that comes up either has to be the start of the author's last name or first name. I don't know if it's not focusing very well, but this is my random letter generator, so let's see what we've got. P. Okay, so the letter was P, so I'm going to go with The Torn, or just Torn, which is the 4th in the Missing series by Margaret Patterson Haddix. Technically I think she's got 2 last names, so that's what I'm gonna go with for this one. This is the 4th in the Missing series, which is a series that my husband very much enjoys, and so I have been reading for him, and it is very sci-fi, it's very paranormal. This is the 4th one. Can't really tell you anything because of a huge plot twist that happens at the end of the first book, but it basically follows these 2 kids who are friends, and they are both orphans, or they have both been adopted, and they're trying to figure out where they come from because they've been receiving letters that are like, you're one of the missing, and giving them other like creepy things like that. But that's what I'm going for because Patterson starts with a P. The next pick one? Oh, part of a series. So the next one is to read a book that is part of a series. And like actually a lot of the books that I have on my Believe With on TBR are part of a series, but I'm going to go with A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is so pretty and so shiny. But this is the first in a new series. Well, not new to me, but not new to the world. But it's basically about three sisters who are trapped in an ancient curse and have to break it. I really don't know much about what this is about, mostly because like the back barely tells you anything, but that is kind of what I know going into this. And I've heard a lot of really good things. I've heard it's very atmospheric and that her writing is great. So I'm very excited about this. And that's gonna be my pick because it's part of a series. Number 4. I like this one. Let's see what this one has. Alright, Squad Goals. Read a book with a good friendship. The next one is Squad Goals, or to read a book with a great friendship. So for this one, I'm going to be reading The Six from the School for Good and Evil, One True King, which is the finale of this series, by Soman Chainani. This one I don't actually have a physical copy of, but I do have the audiobook for, and I love the audiobook. But this is the final of the series, and I've started the series, I read the very first one last November, so it feels appropriate to read this one this year. But this basically just follows two friends from a very small village who are taken in the middle of the night, in the first one, taken in the middle of the night to the School for Good and Evil, which is split in half for good and evil, and they both think they know what school they're going to, and then they get sent to the opposite school, and lots of things have happened since then. But basically this is just the next and final adventure for them, and like I'm sad to see them go, but I need to know what's gonna happen in the end because but there's like a huge squad. There's a big group of friends in this book, and it's great. So that's what I'm gonna pick for Squad Goals. And 5. This one will be the one I choose, and that is to read or listen to an audiobook. The next one is to read or listen to an audiobook. So for this one, I'm going to be picking the Mistwick School for Music Craft, and this is by Jessica Corey, or I think it's Corey. This is one that I've had for a while, and it is a middle grade, and it's about a magic school that has music involved in their magic system. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but I'm excited to find out. So this is going to be my audiobook pick. So with all of that being said, let's get into the actual Believeathon TBR. Like I said, there are 13 prompts, and each prompt is based on a clue. Maybe I should tell you a little bit about what this month is about. So basically, this time around, you are searching for clues in this big mansion, and you're trying to solve a mystery, and so each clue is a reading prompt. So that's just to give you a little idea of what's going on here, but again, please check out the announcement video because it's stellar. But the first one is The Key, which is just to read a mystery. So for this one, I'm going to go with Green Glass House by Kate Milford. This basically takes place in a hotel called Green Glass House, and it follows 12-year-old Milo, who is the innkeeper's son, and it's during the down season, it's during winter, so it has those kind of this time of the year vibes. And then all of a sudden, all of these guests start checking in, and they're trying to figure out what's going on there. I saw Gavin read this, and this was one of the books that he suggested for this prompt, so I said sure. Plus it seems like the appropriate time of year to read this because it's like a mystery, but it's also set in a snowy place, which is kind of the feeling for winter. You're gonna find that a lot of the books on this list I got because of Gavin, so let's blame him for my middle grade buying addiction. But this is my mystery book that I'm going to read, and I am very excited to get I'm so excited to start this one. So the next clue is the fingerprints, and that is to read a book written by an author from a different culture than you. So I'm going to be reading The Six for the School for Good and Evil, One True King by Soman Chainani for this prompt. The next clue is The Scream, and that is to listen to an audiobook or read part of a book out loud. So for this one, I'm going to be going with the Mistwick School for Music Craft. The next one is The Torn Page, and that is to read a book with a supernatural element. So I'm going to be going with Willa of the Wood by Robert Beatty. This is one that I think I'm pretty sure I've had for many, many years and put in last year's Believeathon as well. But it basically follows a young night spirit who is a really good stealer for her clan, I think is what they're called. And she goes to the day folks' houses during the middle of the night and steals from them for her clan. I interpret the day folk as like humans. So basically, she gets stuck one day and then discovers that these day folk are not as bad as she has been led to believe. And also, there's some bad big force that's coming to like destroy her home. There's a lot happening in here, but because she's a night spirit, that's where I'm going with the supernatural element coming through. But I've had this for quite a while, and I really want to get into it because this needs to stop being on TBRs, and this needs to just be read. The next one is The Crown, and that is to read a book set in an alternate world. So for this, I'm going to be reading Peter and the Shadow Thieves by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson. This is the sequel to Peter and the Starcatchers in that series. It is, he's not small. But basically this series is kind of like a reimagining, that was a very large truck, a reimagining of the Peter Pan story, but the first book basically put the characters in the end where we know them as, or where like they are known to be, like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan and the Captain Hook and like all of those people. That's kind of where they are. So I'm really curious to see what is the next step. And I really enjoyed the first one, so I definitely need to get into this series because it's one of my husband's favorites, and I have enjoyed it. This is my set in an alternate world because it's kind of like an alternate England a little bit, so I'm excited. The next one is The Spilled Ink, and that is to read a book featuring ghosts. I quite literally have 0 middle grade books featuring ghosts. So for this one, I'm going to go with actually a middle grade graphic novel, and that is Sheets by Brenna Thumlet. This is basically just a story about a ghost that is in a laundromat, and like the girl who lives there and discovers this ghost. I really don't know quite a lot about this, but it does involve ghosts, and it looks cute, and it's middle grade. And like there's no other ghost books that like I feel like I really want to read, so this is the one that we're gonna go with. And it's a nice like short one to like plop in when we've got some big ones like, you know, this one. The next clue is The Dagger, and that is to read a book that is set in a dangerous setting. So for this one, I'm going to go with Torn, which is my missing book by Margaret Patterson Haddix, because literally every single place that they are in this book is really dangerous. The next clue is The Backpack, and that is to read a book by a new to you author. So for this one, I'm going to go with George by Alex Gino. This is basically a middle grade that follows a human named George, and everyone who looks at George thinks that she is a boy, but actually George is a girl, and she knows that she's a girl. And she really wants to play Charlotte in Charlotte's Web, which her school is putting on, and her teachers don't let her because everyone sees her as a boy. But I'm really intrigued to read this one because I've only read one other book that's a middle grade that has to do with a transgender main character, and that one was on the older side of middle grade, and this seems like it's going to be on the significantly younger side of middle grade. And I've heard this one's amazing. This is also one that I've got because of Gavin. So I am excited to dive in because I feel like this is going to be really, really good. And it's a really short one that I can plop in between some thicker ones. And I think it's going to hit a lot of the feels. So I'm really excited. Plus, I've never read anything by Alex Gino before. So the very next clue is The Feetprint or Footprint. And that is to read a book featuring a prominent villain. So for this one, I'm going to go with the 12th in the series Unfortunate Events, The Penultimate Peril by Lemony Snicket. As y'all know, if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, I'm rereading the series, or buddy reading the series with Serena from Wandering Mind. And this is the next book that we're reading in November. And there's for sure, like, a prominent villain, aka Count Olaf. So that's my answer for this one. It follows 3 orphans whose parents die in the very first book, and their parents were very wealthy and leave them a lot of money. And it follows Count Olaf, who basically just wants their money, and the ridiculous schemes that he goes through to get, or try to get said money. So this one I'm really excited about because we've got a lot of overarching plot stuff that I think we're going to learn some details about. There's some kind of mysterious secret organizations that are happening now, and I am excited and I want to know more. The next clue is The Hand Mirror, and that is to read a book with a beautiful cover. So obviously, I'm gonna go with A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison, because like y'all, The next clue is The Chain, and that is to read a book featuring a colorful cast of friends. So for this one, I'm going to go with The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris. This is the first in his series of 4, and I believe that they are all currently out. And I don't know if you can see up here, but that's the cast of characters, and they just look like they all are so different and have like different personalities. I don't really know a whole lot about what this one is about, but that's okay with me. So basically what I do know is it does follow our main character, who's right there. Kind of looks like Neil Patrick Harris himself, a little bit. But he like runs away to a new town and then discovers magic, and through that finds a group of friends, and then there's like a villain and they're trying to defeat the villain. Descriptive, I know. But they use like magic, like cards and kind of magic how we think of magic in like our world, where you think of like magicians. That's the kind of magic they're doing here. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. The next clue or thing is a flash of lightning, and that is to read a book incorporating folk tales. So for this one, I'm going to be using The House with the Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson because it's got, Russian folklore and the story of Baba Yaga. That's my answer for that one. And the very last prompt and very last book that I'm reading for Believeathon round 3 is The Shadow, and that is to read a book that was published in 2020. So I'm going to be going with The Vanishing Trick by Jenny Spangler, another book that I bought because of Yavin. But basically this is very like gothic and Edwardian England, kind of like during the time of Charles Dickens, like that kind. But basically this follows our main character who somehow gets trapped in a cabinet, and there are other children trapped in this cabinet as well, and they're trying to get out and defeat the lady that stuck them in there. So this just sounds fun, and like the cover is just kind of gothic-y feeling anyway, and it was published in 2020. So I've been wanting to get my hands on this one and read this one for a while, so this just sounds like the perfect opportunity. And that is my Believeathon TBR, but I'm going to do my TBR jars real quick before we run away from this video that's been going on for quite a while, and I apologize. But we'll go to my fiction TBR. I think I got to. I did. Look at me. So the first one is, The Private Life of Victoria. And the second one is Jane Austen, Her Life in Letters. So the books that we picked out were The Private Life of Victoria, which is all about Queen Victoria, and Jane Austen, Her Life in Letters, which is kind of like written by some of her family members, like present-day family members, and it just has a bunch of her letters. So let's be honest, I'm definitely going to go with this one. I've had this for such a long time. My dad gave it to me for Christmas a few years ago. But like it's quite literally just got like all of these letters, and it just tells her story. And y'all know I love me some Jane Austen, so yeah, this is gonna be my nonfiction pick, without a doubt. And my fiction jar, which is really running out of things. Although we've only got 1 month left, so that's not bad. I got 2. Perfect. The first one we picked out was Lovely War by Julie Berry. Yet again. And then the next one is You Owe Me a Murder. So we got, for the third time, Lovely War by Julie Berry, but we also picked out You Owe Me a Murder by Eileen Cook. This is a very, very large historical fiction book that's kind of like the story of World Wars I and II, but told from Greek gods. And You Owe Me a Murder is kind of like a thriller about this girl who makes a pact with a stranger on a plane to each kill someone that's annoying them, but doesn't realize that she makes the pact until one of them ends up dead. So I don't really know. So like I don't want to keep putting off Lovely War, but I really don't need to add a very large book to this TBR. But I think I'm going to go with Lovely War just because it's come up 3 times, and I feel like that's fate telling me that I needed to finally read this book. And I've heard the audiobook is amazing, and I've heard, I think a couple of you have told me in the comments when this came up last, that it is a very easy to get through book. So I'm gonna count on you guys and rely on that, and we're gonna read this one as my fiction jar. But that's it. That is my TBR for, what month are we gonna be in? November. That's like 15 books. I mean, most of them are middle grades, so I'll probably get through them really quickly, and like almost all of them I can find an audiobook for, so like I can listen to them at work, which is good. But I'm not stressing out. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, that's my TBR for the month of November. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you are also participating in the Believe-a-thon or if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned. I would love to know your thoughts before I go into them. Again, I will be vlogging a Believe-a-thon like I did last year, so make sure you look out for those vlogs if you are curious about my thoughts on middle grade. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well if you want to check out any of those. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!